Insurgents breached Syria's second-largest city Aleppo after blowing up 2 car bombs on Friday and were clashing with government forces on the city's western edge, according to a Syria war monitor and fighters. Residents were fleeing neighborhoods on the city's edge because of missiles and gunfire, according to witnesses in Aleppo. The insurgents' advance on Aleppo followed a shock offensive they launched on Wednesday, as thousands of fighters swept through villages and towns in Syria's northwestern countryside. Robert Ford, the last-serving U.S. ambassador to Syria before the U.S. suspended embassy operations early in the civil war, said the fighting in Aleppo would become more broadly destabilizing if it drew Russia and Turkey, each with their own interests to protect in Syria, into direct heavy fighting against each other. The war is heating up a bit and will heat up until Turkey and Russia come to an agreement about a new ceasefire, explained Ford.
We see an offensive primarily by the terrorist group Hayat Tahrir al-Sham, which is usually in English referred to by its acronym HTS. It's an offensive that they are undertaking with help from some other Syrian opposition armed groups. They are pushing east from the northwestern Syrian province of Idlib, just immediately south of Turkey, into the neighboring province of Aleppo. It matters because the Syrian armed opposition, including HTS, has essentially been fighting a static war for the last 5 years. And the Syrian government has occasionally bombed or launched very small-scale incursions into these remaining armed opposition-controlled areas. But there hasn't been fighting of this scale for many years. And reason it's also important is that the Syrian government's forces have been extremely weak and have rapidly retreated. And so we see that the Syrian civil war, which has been going on now really since 2012, has suddenly flared up again in this one location up in northwestern Syria. Does it mean that the Syrian government is about to collapse? No, but it does suggest that the war is heating up a bit and will heat up until Turkey and Russia come to an agreement about a new ceasefire.
Thousands of insurgents continued their advance on Friday toward Aleppo city, seizing several towns and villages along the way. The offensive comes as Iran-linked groups, who have backed Syrian government forces since 2015, have been preoccupied with the wider Middle East conflict engulfing Lebanon and Gaza. These are the areas that we are currently in the process of liberating: Mazanat, Didreya, Kafr Halab, Sheikh Ali, and the neighboring areas where the Iranian militia and the Assad militia were stationed and were bombing civilians, said Hussein Najjar, a fighter within the ranks of the Military Operations Department. Abdelmajid al-Khatib was displaced from Kafr Halab by the conflict with the regime, but he returned on Thursday. "We were forced to flee our town because of the repeated bombing by aircraft, vacuum missiles, barrels and all kinds of weapons that Bashar al-Assad and his army used to bomb my village, which led to destruction that forced us to flee to the camps," he said. When I returned yesterday and today to the village and found it liberated, it was an indescribable joy for me and all the people of the village, he added. Some insurgents even breached Aleppo on Friday after blowing up 2 car bombs and were clashing with government forces on the city's western edge, according to a Syria war monitor and fighters. It was the first time the city has been attacked by opposition forces since 2016, when they were ousted from Aleppo's eastern neighborhoods following a grueling military campaign in which Syrian government forces were backed by Russia, Iran and its allied groups. Witnesses in Aleppo city said residents have been fleeing neighborhoods on the western edge of the city because of missiles and exchanges of fire. The government did not comment on insurgents breaching city limits. Syria's armed forces said in a statement Friday it has been clashing with insurgents in the countryside around Aleppo and Idlib, destroying several of their drones and heavy weapons.
ضمن عملية ردع العدوان لقد تم تحرير هذه المناطق التي نحن الآن في صددها، ميزاناس، جدرايا، كفر حلب، الشيخ علي، المناطق المجاورة التي كانت تتمركز فيها ميليشيا إيران وميليشيا أسد التي كانت تقصف المدنيين. والآن الحمد لله بعد دحرهم عن هذه المناطق إن شاء الله ستعود المدنيين إلى قراهم سالمين غانمين بإذن الله عز وجل.
احنا اضطرينا للنزوح من بلدتنا بسبب القصف المتكرر بالطيران والصواريخ الفراغية والبراميل وكافة أنواع الأسلحة التي قام بشار الأسد وجيشه بالقصف على قريتي بلدتي، مما أدى إلى تدمير، مما اضطرينا إلى النزوح إلى المخيمات. عانينا في المخيمات معاناة قاسية كتير، الشكوى إلى الله. لكن أنا وقت اللي رجعت امبارح واليوم على الضيعة ولقيتها محررة كانت فرحة لا توصف نهائيا، أنا وكل أهالي قرية كفر حلب. سلامي يا حبيبي. أنا وقت اللي فت على البيت صح أنا انزعجت إنه البيت مهدم، البيت مخربينه، لكن الإزعاج تبعي طغى عليه الفرحة بأنه أنا وقت كنت ضمن البيت لقيت فرحة كبيرة لا توصف نهائيا، مما أدى إلى نسياني بخراب بيتي وخراب ضيعتي.